Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And maybe that's what you've been doing without even realizing it, calling your patterns fate, calling your quiet dissatisfaction normal, telling yourself that this is just how life is, as if the way things are is the way they'll always have to be. You say you want change, but deep down, you're terrified of what change would actually demand from you. Because the truth is, nothing will change until you do. Not your job, not your relationships, not your sense of peace. If you change nothing, nothing changes. So in this video, we're going to have a very honest conversation about why we confuse comfort with peace and stay stuck in familiar pain, about the quiet moment when you realize no one is coming to save you, about how fear becomes the author of your life if you're not paying attention, and about the truth that even the smallest shift, done consistently, can become a new identity. Because change isn't some dramatic leap. It's a decision, a direction, a series of moments where you finally stop betraying yourself. You ever catch yourself saying, "It's not great, but it's fine," even when every part of you knows it's not fine at all? You say it about your job. You wake up every morning with a weight on your chest, dreading the day ahead. But the paycheck comes. The routine is stable. And so you tell yourself it's fine. You can manage. You've handled worse. And besides, it's not like you have a better plan, right? Or maybe it's your relationship. It's not violent. It's not chaotic. But it's hollow. The warmth is gone, the intimacy faded, and the connection feels more like obligation than love. But you stay. Because what if leaving is lonelier than staying? What if this emptiness is safer than risking the unknown? That's the trap. Most of us don't hold on because something is good. We hold on because it's familiar. And familiar pain is still pain. It's just the kind we've learned how to live with. We confuse that with peace. But it's not peace. It's quiet suffering. It's the kind of numbness that settles in so slowly you stop realizing how much you're tolerating. Carl Jung said, "Neurosis is always a substitute for legitimate suffering." And maybe that's what you're living, a low-grade, background pain you've decided is easier to manage than the sharp sting of real change. But comfort isn't peace. Comfort is a warm prison, a gentle, suffocating stillness. Peace, on the other hand, is active. It heals you. It restores your energy. It makes you feel more alive, not less. And when you finally see the difference, you realize something has to give. Because staying in something just because you've gotten good at enduring it is not strength. It's self-abandonment. It's okay to admit that what used to feel safe now feels like a cage. That's not failure. That's the beginning of awareness. And awareness, not effort, not hustle, not blind optimism, awareness is where change actually begins. But here's the hard part. Awareness alone isn't enough. You can know something needs to shift. You can even feel the weight of it every day. But nothing happens until you take responsibility for it. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. If this content is resonating with you, consider subscribing. I make videos that help you see the world and yourself more clearly. Thank you. There's a moment, and maybe you've already felt it, when you're in the middle of venting, repeating the same story for the 100th time. You're frustrated, you're drained, and suddenly, mid-sentence, something clicks. You hear yourself, and it's embarrassing. Not because what you're feeling isn't valid, but because deep down you know you've been stuck in the same loop for far too long. And then the thought creeps in. No one is coming to fix this. Not my partner, not my boss, not time, not even fate. It's on me. That moment isn't loud. It doesn't come with fanfare or fireworks. It's quiet. It feels like a sigh, a pause, a stillness after all the noise. But inside that stillness is something dangerous, something sacred, responsibility. It doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything that's happened to you. It doesn't mean you caused the pain, or that you deserved the neglect, or that you should have known better. It simply means asking a brutal, liberating question. What part of this is in my hands? And once you ask it, things begin to shift. You stop waiting for signs, you stop waiting for someone to change or apologize, or finally understand you. You start noticing your own patterns, how you downplay your needs, how you avoid discomfort, how you wait for permission to make the moves you already know are necessary. You realize that nothing external has to change before you begin. That clarity can come before certainty. That taking one honest step, even a shaky one, is more powerful than a lifetime of rehearsed complaints. Carl Jung once wrote, "I am not what happened to me, I am what I choose to become." And that choice doesn't require perfect circumstances, it requires ownership. And ownership is scary because it strips you of excuses. But it's also freedom, because if it's in your hands, it means you're not powerless anymore. The shift doesn't always look dramatic. It can be as subtle as changing your tone with someone who's crossed your boundary too many times. As quiet as sitting in discomfort instead of numbing it away. As bold as walking away from something that used to define you, simply because it no longer honors you. Responsibility is a turning point. It's the line between reacting and responding, between being dragged by life and leading your own. But there's a reason we avoid it for so long, and that reason has a name. Fear. Fear of failure. Fear of regret. Fear that if you finally try and it doesn't work, it'll confirm the worst things you believe about yourself. And if you don't understand how fear disguises itself, you'll keep mistaking it for logic, or loyalty, or even love. So in the next segment, let's go deeper. Into the quiet ways fear keeps you stuck, and how to take the pen back from it before it writes your entire life story. Here's something most people never admit. A lot of what we call being stuck is just fear in costume. It's not that you don't want to leave that relationship, it's that the thought of being alone terrifies you more than the loneliness you already feel with them. It's not that you love your job. It's that the idea of starting over, risking failure, maybe disappointing people, feels heavier than another year of quiet resentment. It's not that you don't believe in your dreams. It's that the fear of judgment, of not being good enough, of being seen and rejected, keeps those dreams hidden in drafts you never open. So you stay. You wait. You rationalize. You tell yourself you're being practical, realistic, patient. But if you look closer, you'll see what's really driving the story. Fear. Fear has been writing your lines and directing your scenes, and it's been doing it for so long, you've mistaken it for your voice. You know what the worst part is? Fear doesn't even have to scream. It just whispers, "What if it's worse out there?" And so you keep choosing the pain you know over the freedom you don't. Because the unknown isn't just scary, it's threatening to everything you've built your safety around. But here's the truth. If you never challenge that fear, it becomes your identity. It becomes your rhythm, your routine, your ceiling. And before you realize it, your life becomes a loop. A recycled narrative of almosts, maybes, and somedays. It's not weakness, it's human. But the danger lies in staying too human, too comfortable with your wounds, too rehearsed in your survival, too fluent in the language of doubt. You don't have to be fearless. That's a myth. Courage doesn't mean the absence of fear. It means fear is still there, but you stop letting it be the narrator. You start choosing new lines. You start walking off the stage it built for you. You start responding not from panic, but from presence. And it doesn't require a complete rewrite of your life. It starts with one small line, one decision that says, I won't keep telling this story. Because every big transformation begins the same way, with a shift, a tiny pivot, a barely visible turn in the direction of something better. And in the next segment, that's exactly where we're going, into how even the smallest change, done with intention, can quietly begin to rewrite everything. When we talk about change, we often imagine some grand cinematic moment, a dramatic breakup, a resignation letter slammed on the desk, a one-way ticket to a new city. We wait for lightning, for a sign, for the right time to arrive, as if change only counts when it's big, bold, and obvious. But real change, it almost never looks like that. It doesn't knock on your door with a plan. It doesn't shout. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It whispers. It nudges. It starts with something so small you could almost miss it. The one morning you choose to get up instead of hitting snooze. The moment you pause before sending that text, you know you'll regret. The quiet no you say when your old self would have said yes just to avoid disappointing someone. These moments don't come with applause. They come with discomfort, with second-guessing, with that weird mix of fear and relief that tells you something inside you is shifting. And those shifts, they matter more than you think, because they're not just behaviors, they're declarations, signals to yourself and the world. I'm no longer living on autopilot, I'm choosing, even if it's slow, even if it's messy, even if no one notices but you. Carl Jung said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." And that's where it happens, not in your intentions, but in your actions, in the small, repeated decisions that begin to carve out a new path, not overnight, but inch by inch. You don't need to rebuild your life in one sweeping gesture. You just need to stop doing nothing. You need to interrupt the pattern, challenge the default. Say to yourself, this time I'll do it differently. And yes, it will feel awkward, foreign, like wearing someone else's shoes, but keep going. Because with every small act of alignment, with every moment you choose growth over fear, truth over habit, you're no longer just reacting to your life, you're rewriting it. So maybe today it's one boundary, one breath, one brave sentence. Maybe that's all, but don't underestimate it. That's the thread that starts to unravel everything false and reveal what's real underneath. Because your story doesn't change all at once. It changes one page at a time, the moment you stop waiting to feel ready and start acting like the person you've always been becoming. Because sometimes the biggest change is simply deciding you're no longer willing to live the same way.